Welcome, everyone. I want to thank you so much for joining us. My name is Brian Rosenberg. I'm the founder of Gays with Kids and the executive director of GWK Academy. Our mission here at GWK Academy is to support and empower all LGBTQ plus people for their journeys to parenthood. And we do this by providing educational resources, peer support, coaching, and referrals spanning all paths and possibilities for family building. We are super proud to shine a light on foster care, as we believe by doing so, we can perhaps help more children in the foster care system transition out of the system and into loving LGBTQ plus families. The reality is that fostering is not for everyone, and we understand that. So today's webinar will also explore other opportunities that you can investigate to support these kids in meaningful ways. Before we begin, it's my privilege to introduce my co-presenter today, GWK's great friend and true advisor with all things having to do with foster care, Bonnie Sharpe, who's the director of programs at the Amazing Extraordinary Families. Bonnie, hello and welcome.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Do you want to just introduce yourself and to give a little bit more on extraordinary families and
Sure thing. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I have been working with extraordinary families for it's 11 years now, and I have been in the field of child welfare for about 15 years or more, give or take, I think. And yeah, Extraordinary Families, we are a foster care and adoption program of Allies for Every Child, and we've been serving the community for 30 plus years. And yeah, we're just excited to be here today.
Thank you. All right, so in a few moments, we're going to introduce, we have some other people who joined us. It was a very, very special treat, and we'll introduce them in a couple of minutes, but I thought first we would get started. So Eric, can you take us to the next slide, please? Bonnie, do you want to cover these couple of slides for us?
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna dive into some facts about foster care. So there are nearly 400,000 children in the United States in care due to various forms of neglect or abuse, with neglect being the most common cause. And the average age of a child in care is about 8 years, maybe a little older, ranging from infants to about 18. And most states offer what's called extended foster care to support our youth up to age 21. Youth who identify as LGBTQ+, they are deeply overrepresented in the child welfare system, with the highest rates of disproportionality found among LGBTQ+ youth of color and those who are transgender and non-binary. A recent study found that approximately 30% of youth in foster care identify as LGBTQ+, and 5% as transgender, compared to just roughly 11% and 1% of youth who are not in foster care. And many LGBTQ+ youth have that added layer of trauma that comes with being rejected or mistreated because of their sexual orientation and gender identity or expression. They also tend to experience disparate outcomes. They remain in foster care longer, they're shuffled from one temporary home to the next, and they're less likely to be adopted. All right, we're going to talk about some needs.
So actually, can I just interject for a second?
Yes,
Bonnie?
please.
You know, as an adult gay male, I hear those stats, and my heart breaks, and I also think that it's our responsibility to help support the younger generation of LGBTQ plus folks. So especially happy that you share those statistics and help get people to want to help out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about needs. So what do our kids in foster care need? Well, given the hundreds of thousands of children and youth in care, first and foremost, there is a significant need for caregivers, especially for older children, for sibling groups, and of course, LGBTQ+ youth. But not just any caregivers. The majority of these children, they've been subjected to multiple adverse childhood experiences and complex trauma that's been related to their abuse and neglect, and they're at an increased risk for long-term emotional, behavioral, and physical health problems, among other challenges. And the discrimination, the neglect, compound these negative outcomes, resulting in higher risks of challenges such as homelessness and even suicide. Currently, I believe only 14 states have statutory or regulatory guidance regarding joining transgender youth in out-of-home care in accordance with their gender identities. Only 13 states have system-wide policies and trainings designated to prevent discrimination and provide appropriate services to protect our LGBTQ plus youth. And there are also about 13 states that permit travel-free agencies to refuse to provide services to children and families, including LGBTQ plus youth and families, if doing so conflicts with their religious beliefs. All of this underscores the importance of the need for protections for LGBTQ plus youth in foster care. It's important to note that the negative outcomes I just access to trauma-informed and affirming services. They need nurturing, stable, consistent, lasting family relationships and support. So again, going back to what our kids in care need, they need caregivers. They need caregivers who will advocate for them, who are trauma-informed, who are committed to loving them unconditionally for however long they need until they can either reunify with their parents or their relatives or become a part of a forever family through adoption. And this requires a commitment to include a child as a member of your family, creating that sense of safety and belonging. And it also requires an ongoing commitment to support a child's connection to their family of origin, whether the child remains in your care for one day or lifelong. I'm proud to say that at Extraordinary Families and Allies for Every Child, we are committed to finding firming and supportive families for our children and youth in care, in particular for our youth who identify as LGBTQ+. And we work very closely with the All Children, All Families program of the Human Rights Campaign to help ensure that our policies, our programs, and our services are inclusive and affirming. Approximately 30% of our resource or foster parents identify as LGBTQ+, and I believe Brian is going to talk more about why the child welfare system needs more LGBTQ+ parents.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Bonnie. So I think, as the LGBTQ plus adults, looking back at our own experiences growing up, struggling with living authentically, coming out, I think it's not, I think it's very easy to see how those experiences would relate to us being, of course, terrific, terrific role models and support system for kids in the system, especially LGBTQ plus kids. So, I can tell most of us have had to deal with rejection and resilience. My own personal experience, my family, when I told them I was gay, they were immediately loving and supportive, but not all my friends were. I was also HIV positive. I had to deal with coming out about my HIV status first. And, I think that just in the normal course of growing up queer, we have become excellent, resilient people. And so clearly, I think that helps make us fantastic foster resource parents, for LGBTQ plus kids. How many of us, though, who did not have experiences like mine, that did not have families that supported them, instead rejected them? Well, and even people like me, like we all have experience sort of creating what we call our chosen families, right? Where we pick each other and they become just as important as our biological ones, in many cases more so. Um, I think representation, I can't say enough. Part of the reason we launched Gays with Kids is because I know representation matters. When I was young, uh, I saw no gay guys out there living, out and proud, to show me what my life would be like. And so I grew up very closeted. And I think that left me to experimenting without being educated. And so I became HIV positive. And so I know personally how important visibility is and representation. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's super important that we LGBTQ plus adults who've gone through all this use our own experiences to help the young generation. And that's why I'm super excited to hear the stories of our fellow panelists who are going to speak in a few minutes. And then, the commitment to justice and inclusion is like, I think we all have that. I mean, go to Pride and see how many people are there. Um, the walks in Washington, when AIDS was in the worst. I mean, we all just become so instantly supportive and really advocates. And that's what these kiddos need. They need advocates. And I just tell you the stories that we've shared over the years on Gays with Kids about kids who were told, foster parents who were told by agencies and therapists that the kids um, would would be coming to them with all kinds of problems and issues and probably would only reach this level. And then with the proper love and advocacy of wonderful foster parents, the kids have way surpassed any expectations. And so I just think it's within our own nature. It's with just by being who we are, we make amazing resource and parents. So for those of you who are interested in learning more, you're about to be in, get some great stories, but I really want you to consider this. And those who just, for whatever reason, this is not going to be your family building path, that's totally cool. But please pay attention, because you can learn how you can still have a meaningful impact on these kids. So with that said, next slide, Eric. So Bonnie, I would be thrilled to introduce these guys, but I think it makes more sense for you to do it since you're all connected already. These are families that you're helping to make through Extraordinary Families to support kids in the foster care system. So with that, Jamie, AB, and Daryl, thank you so much again for joining us. Truly, truly appreciate this. I'm excited to hear your stories. Bonnie, I'll let you introduce them, please.
Yeah, well, I don't want to steal their thunder. In them introducing themselves, honestly, is a part of their story. It's a part of their journey and how they found us, how they decided this path. But I am thrilled that Daryl, AB, you're here. Thrilled that Jamie is here. You both families have been truly, extraordinary with our Extraordinary Families team and caring for the little ones who have joined your home and who are now a part of your forever family. I know there's still a couple kiddos that are still on the path to realizing that forever family, but super excited to share in the joy that you have in having these children a part of your home and family. So I think, is it Jamie? Is Jamie going first?
Yeah,
It
actually,
is
let me just
me.
interject. I forgot to ask. So we are always open to questions. So if anyone watching has any questions, please use the chat or the Q&A function, and we will definitely get to them. We'd like them to give them a chance to speak first, and then we can come back and answer your questions. Sorry, Bonnie.
No worries. Take it away, Jamie.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. This is one of my first webinars in regards to being a part of this, and this is truly impactful, I think, just for me, right, and being able to see what's out there and what's available for our families, and as you're looking into options, right, of creating your own forever family. And so, unfortunately, my wife was unable to make it today due to some work pieces, but I can give you a little bit of our story. She was kind of a big piece of our inspiration. My wife was adopted, and so she always wanted to be able to give back. And we somehow really dug into fostering, and we looked at multiple different groups that could help, and we came across Extraordinary Families, and it's been one of the best decisions we've made for sure in our lives. And we were one of those people that pre-COVID went to all the in-person classes to become a foster parent, and then didn't really follow up on it, right? Got crazy busy with life and kind of let everything pass due dates. And then we finally really sat down and said, okay, we really want to do this. And we went through it all again in COVID, which was even more fun, right? A lot of Zooms and going through all of the training and the classes. And we've had some amazing experiences, right? I would say foster parents, right? Being a resource family is some of the most amazing, challenging, right? All at the same time experiences because you are navigating a family, right? With a possible non-end date, right? Or a possible end date with that child. And so you just really have to be able to dive in fully and give as much unconditional love as you can to these kiddos and make sure that we can support them and any way possible. And so for us, we've had two different foster kids. Our first one, we had for about 10 months. Amazing, great relationship. We created a great relationship with her mother, and we still see her on a monthly basis, right? We're able to be a part of her life, and we that was probably right. It was our first, and watching like all of the separation anxiety that we had, right, for being with a little one for 10 months was hard. And we didn't know, could we do this again? Could this be a possibility for us? Um, and there's always this moment of like, oh, can I handle this situation? And both of us, we have so much love for these kids and so much compassion that we wanted to give. And so we said yes to another little girl. And we got really lucky. We were able to adopt her last April, which is absolutely amazing. Um, Sorry, this is much harder to talk about.
Oh, of course.
Um, but uh, the two of them, our first foster daughter and our second and our daughter, are best friends, right? They ask about each other weekly. My daughter Olivia will wake up and, "Yeah, have you seen, do we get to see Sophie this week?" And it's the cutest thing ever, and it's amazing. And again, we've created such great relationships through all of our social workers and people that we've been a part with extraordinary families. The support that they give and how they help get you through this process has just been phenomenal, and we couldn't have done it without them. And again, these are wonderful pictures, right? We love to take, we're outdoors peoples. So our daughter Olivia and up in Santa Barbara with some fun alpacas, and then we like to hike. So clearly, we do not take pictures just of my wife and I anymore. Everything is, revolved around Olivia. So when they asked for pictures, I was like, oh, I don't know if we have one without Olivia that's not like 5 years ago. But this is us and who we are, and how we've gotten to where we are. So
That's just wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm just going to share a quote, Jamie, from you that I heard, that I really loved and stuck with me. Becoming a resource parent has been one of the hardest, most challenging, most rewarding, and loving experiences of our lives.
yeah, that is literally, I feel like it sums everything up in every aspect of this process. Again, I couldn't imagine not going through it, and the struggles that come with it are, it's still, there's so many amazing things that come from it that doesn't make the struggles to be the issue or concern that we have.
Thank you. Bonnie, two questions for you. We should have probably, just to clarify, if anyone watching it doesn't understand the difference between a resource parent and a foster parent, you just want to explain that?
Yeah. So it's it's actually the same, but here in California, there's been well, we have our own strength-based language that we like to use, but resource parent in particular is a part of the California care reform that happened, I think, back in 2017, where we are trying to reframe how we think of our caregivers. So they're more than just caregivers. They are a true resource to the children who come into their home and to the families who are impacted and involved in the child welfare system. So that's where resource comes from, but it's the same thing. It's synonymous, resource, foster parent.
Okay, thank you. And then, so Jamie's, so I know people are concerned about, what happens when the child leaves the home, and is there no longer a relationship? And it sounds from what I hear that when the foster care system works the way it's supposed to, then it's really wonderful. And it sounds like that's what happened with you, Jamie. And I'm sure that's in no small part due to extraordinary families as well, and all the other professions you have. But that's just so wonderful to hear. Bob, do you want to make a comment on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think for me, for extraordinary families, that was the best like we had a lot of support, but that was huge in that process of how we navigated Sophie leaving our home and being open to another and how to process that and what that looked like for us. And then just with very strong recommendations of like trying to keep in touch and trying to, as hard as the process was, of keep reaching out and keep being a resource for Sophie's mom, and how we went about that. So I think Extraordinary Families did an amazing job of getting us through that process.
Right, thank you. All right, AB and Daryl, you guys are up.
Well, first I would like to say it is emotional when Jamie was telling her story. It reminded me of our story, and our story is still going with some of our kiddos. And then the picture that's with Daryl and I, that is about 4 years old. That is about 4 years old. As she said, we do not take pictures by ourselves anymore. It's all of the kids with them, or one of us with the kids, or all of us together. So it was kind of hard to find something very separate. Especially now that we have 3 kiddos. One is adopted. We'll tell that story, and 2 are in the process of being adopted. So, but our story is that we, decided to expand our families, and one of the things that we thought about was going through foster care first, as we know that there were just tons of kids in need, and so that was our first thing. We kind of went through the process as well, did all the paperwork, did the training. Well, some of the paperwork, did all the training, right? And then life happens, and then we're like, oh, okay, well, the due date to come to do this training is coming up soon. So maybe we should just go ahead and finish this paperwork. So we don't have to do the training again, because we did it during COVID, after COVID. So it's remote Wednesdays or Thursdays at 6 to 9. So I'm like, okay, so that was our also push to not have to do the training over again. And they said, once you're approved, it can happen at any time. And I still remember being at work, getting a text message around 11 o'clock and in the morning, and it's like, hey, we have this kiddo, do you want them? Like, I mean, they gave more details than that, but like, we would love a response like soon. So Daryl and I had a quick little chat, and it's like, okay, sure, we'll do this. And he was like, okay, well, we'll connect you with a social worker. The social worker said, hey, we'll be at your house before 5. And so I live about an hour away in traffic to come. Daryl was on his way, so we kind of left work, went home, met the social work, met our little guy who is now adopted, and parenting, and I call it instant parenting. You kind of don't know what to expect. You can kind of be as prepared, material wise as much as possible, but it wasn't real until he came. Um, we've had, a lot of experiences with him in different ways that could happen. I think things that could happen that you have stories about did happen. Whether it was, visits with the first family and the mom and then the dad, or the dad not showing up, or just difficulties with the cases, looking to other families, because like I said, through foster care, it's, family reunification first. And so we kind of ran through all of the scenarios there, visits, not visits, and kind of dealing with that. And I think, as the child was in your care longer, there is an attachment, but there also is a job for protection. But there also is the fine line of family reunification plus protection of the child and his needs, and developing them, and also trying to continue to help the relationship with them in the first family as well. And, going through all of that, EF has been very helpful with kind of explaining things and giving some more insights and giving suggestions. And also even for our own kind of, safety mentally, they've also, our social worker also monitored some of our visits with our kiddo and the first family, which I think was very helpful for us, as there's another set of eyes and ears in the room when we're not there that we do trust. So I think, we have a happy ending for, our first kiddo, which was great. It was some bumps and bruises along the way. And he's adopted, and we now have two other brothers because of him. One of our situations that we had was he was not able to get vaccinated. Our first kiddo was not able to get vaccinated. So luckily it was around COVID time. We were working remotely. So we were at home with him, but we were like, hey, he needs some friends. He needs some, age appropriate friends. Our other kiddos needed a home. And so Daryl and I decided to tag along and bring them into our home. Initially, it was supposed to be temporary, and now it's looking to be more permanent. And so in our first two tries, we have three kids. um, and so it's been lovely. It's been a journey, and it's been, life lessons for them and for us for sure, as we continue to try to blend our family with the first family. And so I've talked a lot, and so I'll give it over to Daryl to add his pieces, and there you go.
Yeah, so everything that AB said aligns with kind of where my head is at. So I won't repeat any of that, but I do want to go back to what Brian said in the beginning of representation matters. We were initially talking or thinking about surrogacy as a potential. We knew we wanted to build a family, but we didn't quite know what that looked like. And as AB said, that we wanted to have a way of giving back to the community. We knew that there was a lot of kids in the world already in need, so let's support the kids that are local, let's support the kids that are here already. But representation matters. I remember growing up, and when I first came out as gay in my teenage years, I did not think about having a family. So family building and a path to having a family of my own was not something that I foresaw for myself. Even as late into my 20s, I did not see that path, right? And so these types of webinars that provide information about foster care and those opportunities to potentially build families, if that's something that you're open to. EF has very well told us it's not a matter of if, but when. It may not be your first, your second. We've gotten lucky, so I'm going to count our blessings there, but it can be a path, and we've connected with other families who have not been able to adopt on the first opportunity if they're looking to build family. But it's definitely been a rewarding journey. We went from having no kids to having one kid that was a 2-year-old in the matter of 4 or 5 hours. And then 8 months later, we went to having 3 toddlers, two 3-year-olds and a 4-year-old. So our house was chaotic and crazy, but I wouldn't change it or trade it for the world. It's definitely helped us become better humans. We both work in the HR space, so some may say we've been dealing with kids as adults or are dealing with adult children already. So it has definitely made us better professionals. It's made us better people. It's made us a better couple. There are things that we are able to come together on and really use our problem solving skills together where we may have lived more independent lives. So yeah, it's been a really great opportunity, and these little kiddos have enhanced our lives in way more ways than we would have even thought or expected. And kudos to EF for helping prepare us. There were things that we didn't expect along the way, but no one could plan for or prepare for, no matter how many times you do this. But at the end of the day, EF was a huge resource for us in navigating the foster care process. So, Bonnie and team, thank you guys for all that you have done for us.
All right,
Aw.
steps to becoming a foster/resource parent. Well, the first thing you need to do is get educated. So you've heard these wonderful stories from these families, and you just need to get educated yourself. And we don't worry, because I can tell you how to do that. Number one is just go over to gwkacademy.org and join. It's all completely free. And now make your way over to adoption. We have an adoption course, and within the adoption, there's a whole course on fostering, foster adopt. And so go through all the different lessons we put together with the extraordinary team of extraordinary families. Bonnie and her team really take you through. Each video will take you through everything you need to know to determine if this is the right path for you and your family. So yeah, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and sign on to GWK Academy. Find out, you take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of time, do you want me to go ahead and go through this, or? Okay, we'll go through it. Yeah, we'll go for it. I'm good. All right. So, again, after deciding if fostering or adopting from foster care is your path, you absolutely go through GWK to help you and make that decision. And the next step is to find the right agency. You're going to want to find an agency that best meets your family's needs, you and your family, an agency that is not just accepting of LGBTQ plus individuals, but an agency that's inclusive, affirming, supportive, and competent in working and serving or working with and serving this community. You're going to want to attend various orientations or informational sessions. Don't just attend one, go to multiple orientations so that you can get a sense of who this agency is, what they represent, how do they approach foster care, what's their vision, mission, and values. And then you're going to want to, well, once you choose the agency, you're going to start training. You're going to be required to complete a comprehensive series of what should be trauma-informed training that's going to prepare you for the journey ahead so that you can best care for any child who might join your family, again, whether that's temporary or long-term. And then you're going to begin the home study or the family assessment process. This includes a series of interviews, lots of paperwork, background checks. The family assessment process, it's going to allow us to really get a deep understanding of your strengths and your parenting capacity so that we can best match you to a child in need. And our mantra at Extraordinary Families is that we're looking for families for children, not children for families. Preparing your home is also part of the family assessment process. So you're going to be required to meet and maintain some high-level safety standards above and beyond what you might do just as a general parent. And then once your family assessment is complete and you've completed the home inspection, you'll be approved and you can expect to receive calls sometimes the same day of your approval. That absolutely does happen. And then your role from there is the most vital in the system. You're there to take care of that child, provide them stability, a loving home environment, an environment that is responsive, affirming and understanding of their needs. And you're also going to need to work as a member of a team dedicated to ensuring the child's ongoing safety, health, and well-being. And it's important, again, to remember that when adopting from foster care, as our families share, the goal is always first to reunify the child with their families whenever possible. And so the role of the resource or the foster parent is to not only parent the child as you would your own, but it's also to support and help facilitate that reunification process. If, however, it's determined that the child cannot safely return to their families, then the child is legally freed for adoption. And that process is ultimately finalized in court after all the requirements are met. Hopefully that's a lot of information, but
That was very well done. Thank you so much.
other ways you can help.
Yep.
All right. I think I'll jump in first. So if you're not quite ready to foster or adopt from foster care, there are many other ways that you can support our kids in care. So for example, you could potentially become a caregiver but focus only on providing respite care. And that is essentially providing short-term support for resource families when they need extended childcare, such as in emergencies. And it also helps to prevent burnout. It means that you might care for a child for a few days instead of committing to care for a child lifelong. Additionally, you can also volunteer as a mentor. We have a mentoring program at Extraordinary Families where our mentors, they help create or strengthen emotional, educational, and social support for our youth who are currently or formerly in foster care, building trusting relationships that could hopefully last a lifetime. They also assist our youth in discovering who they are, who they can become, and how to achieve their highest life goals. Another important way for you to support our kids is advocacy within the system, such as educational or their health systems, to ensure safe and affirming environments, for instance, for our LGBTQ plus youth. And I think, Brian, you're going to cover the other pieces.
Yes, actually, I no longer have access to the deck. So do you mind doing it for me?
Yeah, so I think the other piece is really just it falls along with the advocacy. It's paying attention to the policies. What's going on? What's going on particularly in the world right now? We are living in a very scary time, and in particular for our LGBT youth in foster care and families in our communities. Pay attention to policies. Get loud. Yeah, I don't know, Brian, if you want that. That's mainly the next piece. If you want to chime in and add more to that.
Yeah, there was one other too. I know that there are some other wonderful, first of all the organizations like Extraordinary Families are here. They all need support, financial support. There's another organization that I like to share called Comfort Cases, which is run by a wonderful, wonderful gay dad named Rob Shear, who went to the foster care system himself. And, you know, he went from one home to the next with all his belongings in a garbage bag. And he was absolutely mortified when many, many years later, he and his husband decided they wanted to create a family. And through foster care, when his kiddos came to his house, still everything in garbage bags. So he created comfort cases. The whole family created comfort cases to give these kids dignity and to give them, so basically they give everyone a really nice backpack or a duffel bag. And they put not only supplies like toothbrush and toothpaste and soap and shampoo, but a toy, a stuffed animal, etc. So these kids are no longer, his goal is to make sure not a single kid in the foster care system is schlepping around their stuff in trash bags and old tired suitcases, etc. They all have really nice duffel bags and backpacks filled with supplies. So I'm a huge supporter of them, and so you can support his work, and there's so many ways to do that. But you can just look up how you can give back to the system, and always reach out to me because we have other ideas for other important charitable organizations as well.
Amazing.
So I think that was okay. That was it. Did we have any questions that have not been answered? So I had a question for all the parents actually that I wanted to ask. I'm sorry, AB and Daryl, if you guys covered this while I was gone. How old were your kids when you first met them? And then let's start with that. How
Yeah,
old were
so go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, no, I was, our first kiddo, we got was 6 months old when we got her, and our second one was 7 months old when we got her.
Awesome. And Daryl and AB?
For us, our first initial kiddo who is now adopted, he was placed with us. He was 23 months old, so not quite 2, almost there. And then the other two, a sibling pair, 2 and 3 when they were placed with us.
And for the adopted kids, how long did that process take to complete from the time they first arrived at your home until you became forever families?
It took a while. It felt like it took longer than it actually did. So he was placed with us in December of 2022, and we finalized his adoption on March of this year. So little over 2 years.
Okay. And Jamie?
Ours was actually very similar. We got Olivia on February 10th of 2022 and adopted her on April 24th of 2024.
That's wonderful. And Bonnie, I asked you this. I know there's no such thing as averages because, as you like to say, when I asked you, are there any sort of typical experiences that you can tell people who are entering the system that they can expect? Do you want to give me your?
Yeah, my gold standard is the only thing you can expect is the unexpected. There is no control in this process. Anything can happen. You can, as I think Daryl AB said, you can prepare and prepare and prepare, and there will always be something that is the unexpected. So, yep, that is absolutely the only thing that you can expect, the unexpected.
We have a question. How did you find the training to become resource parents? Did it help you feel more prepared both mentally and emotionally? And then if you could also talk about support that's available to you once you become resource parents and then, through the adoption process.
Yeah, so I will take the first stab at this. I think the training is very, very helpful. It's very, very obviously rooted in theory and kind of child psychology. So, for those of us that are not child psychologists by trade, it's a crash course into child development for sure, and making sure that we understand kind of triggers and trauma, as Bonnie mentioned, very trauma informed. So helpful from that perspective. It is helpful, but it doesn't always prepare you for, the realistic like children meltdown. So you have the training in the back of your mind, but like nothing beats experience, right? So it is a combination of like you're learning the theory behind how the kids are likely to think, how to handle certain types of situations, a lot of situational judgment kind of questions. But again, you know, when you're in it in practice and tensions are high and children are crying and you're like, what am I doing? What's happening? Why are we here? You know, it's sometimes hard to go back to the training, at least for me, but it does help. And as you know, sit there and reflect, you're like, I remember this from the training. I'm glad I did this thing right. This is what I need to keep doing. But in terms of kind of regular support, we've been very, very fortunate in addition to having Bonnie and her team, our EF social worker, we developed a really great relationship with our county social worker as well in one of our cases. And we've been able to rely on her for resources, and whether it's, you know, EF or the county social worker helping us connect with other service providers that were informally giving us advice or helping us refer and get connections to services that our kiddos needed. That has been tremendous. So building that village and building that relationship, and for me, being pushy and making sure that I'm being persistent, because as you said, Brian, like, our job is to be an advocate, and knowing that at the end of the day, at some point, depending on how long you are placed with a kiddo or a kiddo is placed in your home, you and your family become the most knowledgeable person on what that kiddo needs. So being able to advocate for their resources and whatnot. But certainly EF has been a monumental help in the ongoing kind of support and resource for us in navigating the foster care challenges that don't always expect.
Thank you, Daryl. And by the way, I did not have any of the training, and I can tell you, so when our kids started having temper tantrums, felt completely unprepared, and will tell you that we probably did things wrong all the time. So I think everyone should be able to go through these trainings. Amy, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Daryl said a lot of the same things I was thinking. I think for us, right, again, those relationships are really big with our county social worker and with extraordinary family social workers. If we had any questions in regards to resources, it was an easy phone call. It was an easy conversation. Even when we didn't have children in our home, right? When we weren't an active resource parent, it was still a very easy reach out and conversation if we had questions and things like that. So I think it's extremely important to create that circle and that circle of people that you trust and you can lean on when needed. And it really does help you get through the ups and downs of this process for sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Bonnie, thank you so much. As always, it's love having you help us talk about fostering and the foster care system and how it works. And it's so important, everyone, that why you need to work with a great agency. As Bonnie said, shares our passion for LGBTQ plus family building. AB, Daryl, Jamie, thank you all so much. Again, I'm sorry I dropped off for a few minutes there and I missed some of it, but really, really appreciate you guys sharing your stories. And if it'd be cool with you, we'd love to follow up and see if we can get you on our website and some other opportunities to really just help educate more people about becoming foster/resource parents. All right. For those of you watching, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at family@gwkacademy.org. Happy to help you out. Thanks for spending 45 minutes of your day with us today, everybody.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.